This is a really good topic that's not only going to be on your Course 3 exam, but over 30% of Ontario is lease occupied. Having to sell properties that have tenants in them is great information to know for possible future clients. First, we'll touch on notice and rules related to a sale involving tenants, then strategy, marketing, and smart practical options when selling if you are selling, for instance, to an investor that wants it occupied with a tenant in it, or if you're selling to a buyer that wants to live in it themselves. And third, stick around to the end. We'll go over a really good multiple choice question that you may see in the exams to really help make these concepts and this topic stick. As usual, if you are looking for more support to pass these exams first try or crush a retake, look to the Exam Master mini courses in the description below. More on that later in the video, but let's just dive right into it. Okay, so for a tenant, buyer, and seller situation, it all matters. It all matters here in Ontario. Let's do what I love to do, and let's make it scenario based, and let's make it what you're going to see 95 to 99% of the time. Scenario based, I find, really helps make it stick. This is how I would like to be taught. So let's visualize this. Let's say we have a seller, an investor seller that loved their property, they've made some money, but now it's time to sell. The tenant, let's say they are on a year lease, they are on a fixed lease term, or they are month to month. Doesn't matter right now. When the seller now wishes to sell the property, for this, they will give the tenant 60 days notice. Remember that time frame. This is stuff that appears on the exams, and time it perfectly towards the end of the lease term, or if they are month to month, it doesn't matter. It's the same 60 days notice. Now for the buyer, because it all matters, tenant, seller, and buyer in this case, it's not just you can sell it to anyone and they can do whatever they want. Under the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Act, they must be purchasing it with the intent that they will be living there themselves, or they will be buying it to rent to an immediate family member. They can't, for instance, buy the property with the tenant in it only to evict them, let's say 2 months later, then get new tenants in there and raise the rent or something like this. This cannot happen. If they will continue to use the property as an investment property for the public, they will have to honor the existing tenant lease, regardless if it is fixed term or month to month. That's a big rule on this transaction to remember. This may be on exams as well, and it is also pretty good that it protects the tenant. There are places in the world there it can be very scary how quickly you can be without home. Next, as we continue with notice needed, let's touch on notice to tenants for showings and tenant cooperation. The owner must provide 24 hours written notice to the tenant before any showing. The time for the showing, the property needs to be between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and the tenant cannot insist the home be shown only when he or she is present. Okay, so while we're here in this section, I'll add some key points that could appear in the exams. This isn't exactly related to selling a tenanted property, but it's within the realm of it. If the owner is not selling the unit but wants to move into it themselves, there are very similar rules. They can move in for themselves or immediate family member. 60 days notice must be given for the same stipulations as selling. However, in this case, the tenant is entitled to compensation equivalent to 1 month's rent. So if they are required to vacate the unit for the owner or an immediate family member, they do get 1 month's compensation. Also, the owner or the immediate family member have to live there for at least a period of 1 year. They can't just move in, right, live there for a month or two, rent it to new tenants and raise the rent or something like that. This protects that as well. Everything done, and I mentioned this before in my other videos, in my Aurea videos where I break down contracts, everything is in good faith. Okay, second on the list, strategy, marketing, and smart practical options when selling your client's tenanted property. If your client is just thinking of selling, which happens often, they might reach out to you and say they're thinking of selling. Inform them, make sure they don't sign any new leases. You'll have much more flexibility with the property if you are marketing it towards both investors that want tenants and end users that want to live in it, or even a combination of the two. If it is a multi-dwelling unit, multi-dwelling property, they may want a house hack. They may want to live in one of the units, and they may want to rent out the other or others. Let's add some practical considerations as well. First, the condition of the property. We want it well maintained and address any repairs. Don't try to sell it as is or anything like that. Push, if you can, push the seller to get things perfect almost. We want top dollar for this property. That might not always be possible, obviously, but if you can, that would be ideal. Second, communication. Simple practices here, but maintain open and clear communication with the tenants about the sale process. Try to keep everyone happy through the power of communication, right? This is a very stressful time for tenants. There's a good chance they didn't want to move home, right? Be empathetic. This helps in gaining their cooperation and minimizes any possible disruptions. Third, marketing strategy. We want to target the property, like mentioned, ideally to both investors who might be interested in a tenanted property for rental income and buyers who may wish to occupy the property for themselves. In your marketing, be of course very transparent with potential buyers that might be interested in this. They may ask you for details such as lease terms, rent amount, and tenant information. Buyers, when making an offer, most likely will have a condition that comes with lease agreement review, tenant payment history, and even communication with the tenants. There also most likely will be an inspection clause that comes with it. Same for coordinating with the tenants 24 hours ahead of time, written notice to allow the buyer's property inspector to access the property. Okay, fantastic stuff there to know for the real world once licensed and of course passing the exams. Let's move on to a multiple choice question to really help make it stick. Here it is here. We'll read it and break it down. Jinder is working with his clients that are looking to sell their condo. The condo currently has tenants that are leasing on a month-to-month basis. What are Jinder's clients' options regarding the sale of the condo? A, they can sell the property to another investor that plans on adding new tenants. Okay, this is incorrect as you know now. They can of course sell to another investor, but the other investor has to either honor that lease or be moving into it themselves or be renting it to an immediate family member. B, because the tenants are not on a fixed lease, Jinder's clients can evict the tenants and sell the property as they wish. Again, incorrect here. You have learned that there are rules according to the Ontario Tenant and Landlord Acts, regardless if it is a fixed term or month to month in this case. C, Jinder can market the property as vacant at the time of closing or that it may have tenants, however, only if the current tenants agree to it. This is incorrect as well and can be a little tricky, of course, right? They do have rules and they are protected. However, they have no say in the marketing, if you know what I mean. You don't have to go to them to ask them how you're going to market the property. Of course, they can leave. If you're marketing the property as tenants in it and they are month to month and they decide to leave, that's on them. But realistically, they cannot say anything when it comes to you marketing the property. This would be information that you'd be gathering and you would be in communication with the potential buyers and of course your sellers. Quickly note on that topic as well, if the tenants, from tenant to landlord, the tenants will have to give the landlord 60 days notice as well. If they, for instance, find out that you do want to sell the property and they're not happy about that or something, they will give the landlord 60 days notice. I just thought of this as well. If it's a super rare weekly lease, then the tenant only has to give the landlord 28 days. Strange stuff like that can appear in exams sometimes, so good to know. On to D, the owners can sell the property to anyone that plans on living in the property themselves for over 1 year. This is the correct answer, but a little tricky as well, because when you see such polarizing words, polarizing answers like this, where it shows like anyone or even a number like 1 year, these can be altered answers, right? They use this to make it close but wrong. In this particular case, it is right. So you know what you're looking for. These questions like this are here to help you get prepared and know what to look for. Half the battle is knowing the stuff, half the battle is how you handle these questions on exam day. I really hope this helped, guys. And as mentioned, if you are looking for more support to pass these exams first try or crush a retake, look to my Exam Master mini courses in the description below. It's mini notes, mini quizzes, my exact fundamentals I use to pass all exams first try and in 4.5 months, and I also do video breakdowns of the 4 types of questions you may see in the exams. Those links in the description below are also value links for the YouTube family for the time being. If you have any questions at all, you can DM, email, comment on this video. I get back to everyone. My name is Callum Moore, eXp Realty real estate broker here in Ontario. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.